Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back, and thank you for joining us and being a part of our quest to building a culture of empathy. We are now recording this session for educational and promotional purposes. We would like to go do a round of short check-ins, and we'll take up to 30 seconds to share any questions, comments, and etc. from our last session. How would ask? You want to know how was your empathy buddy call, and any short reports from facilitating in the empathy circles the last week. So since I see Mitch there, Mitch, would you like to go first?
Yes, I don't have any questions. This session last week was good. The challenges were not exceedingly hard, but they were challenging, and occasionally I do have some sound issues, and I may have to turn the video off to get better sound. So I apologize for that in advance, but it happens from time to time. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Hannah?
Hi, everyone. I had 2 empathy buddy calls this week, and they were one with Dwayne and one with Larry, and they were both really great. I really enjoyed them, so thank you to you both. And I did 1 hour of empathetic listening this week. I didn't host a circle, I did this instead, and that was an interesting experience, for sure, quite different. Thank you.
Thank you. Elizabeth?
Muted.
You're muted.
I had a great buddy call with Dorothy, and we actually did a little empathy circle between the 2 of us, which was productive. All the buddy calls have been great. It just makes me want to know all of you better. It's very hard for me not to ask questions while you're talking about whatever you're talking about. But anyway, it was great. And so was the circle I had. This was a circle with neighbors that I've had for 30 years. And so it's very different from when you're with people you don't know very well, I think. But thank you. It's been great.
Thank you. Dorothy?
Hi. So it was, sorry, last week I also checked out really quickly, so I didn't really get a chance to do my check out. But I had a really great circle with my group last week. I had a great buddy call with Elizabeth, and I also did an empathy circle with a group here. Well, I'm in Texas and still, and it was with family I don't really know really well. So, and it's also in person, which I found very different from doing it online. So I don't know if we'll get a chance to speak to that a little bit, but there was a few other challenges that I found interesting. Thank you.
Thank you. Cara?
Hello, I had a fabulous buddy session. We did ask each other lots of questions. You start with the empathy thing and then you just get to know each other, which is my favorite part of the buddies. And I am set up for a month-long empathy session with my leadership group. And that's all my exciting is. Oh, and I did some family stuff. Yes. So we also got to do some family empathy circles.
Yeah.
Cool beans. Alexandra?
Yes.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I did not have an empathy buddy call, but I did facilitate an empathy circle with friends, actually 3 of them, with friends, then with family, and then I co-facilitated at my practicum site.
Cool. Faith?
Hi, everyone. Yes, I did a buddy call this weekend with Sean. We had a great time. As Cara said, you start talking and then you're just going on a tangent. So we talked over an hour, so which was great. I tried to do an empathy chat with my son. He was visiting from Texas, and as Dorothy was saying, it didn't go as well as I thought that it would. I think that he felt uncomfortable, with this new way of actually trying to communicate. So that was interesting. But thank you.
Tracy?
Had a great buddy call. Really enjoyed getting to know my buddy a little bit more, and we talked about the empathy circle. I did do an empathy circle with a group, an MVC group that I facilitate weekly. And I did get a little bit mixed up with, right, who's speaking, who's talking, or who's listening, but I recovered quickly. And I've got no other questions. Thank you. I'm complete.
Thank you. Marion?
Hi everyone. God, I'm so busy at the moment. I just finished work and then I jump in the circle. So it's been a little bit my my last week was the same. So I didn't have time to do the body call, which is a pity because I enjoyed, my last one. I'm in need of empathy, I guess, because yesterday I'm an activist as well, and yesterday we had a big action, and it was a bit. The response of the lobby was a bit violent. So yeah, I'm sorry I didn't work on my empathy, but we planned an empathy circle with my group, so that we can talk about what happened yesterday, and still it was useful. So I'm delighted to be there tonight to practice simply and to see you all. Thank you.
Great. Andrea?
Hi, I'm Andrea from the Leeds in the United Kingdom, and I haven't done any buddy calls, but I think I've been using the empathy. I've been using more empathy, been more aware of it. I've been looking. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I've been looking after my cat that's been ill and that my mother left to me, and she's very old. And I think I've been using my heart to help her. I can't believe it. She's not ready to give up. She stopped eating for 2 days, but she's having a new lease of life. That's the end.
Okay. Jeremy?
Hi, yeah. Thank you. I'm doing pretty well this morning. I wasn't able to do my empathy call with Ralph. Bit of a bummer because I was really looking forward to that. Had a busy week, but I was able to do 2 empathy circles at this community climate healing circle that we had in Berkeley this weekend. So I helped them run the empathy tent, and that was super rewarding. But yeah, I'm looking forward to maybe even doing my call with Ralph after this meeting, if possible. Thanks.
Thanks. Valerie?
Yeah, hi. I also have had a very busy couple weeks, and so I managed to do 2 empathy calls over the weekend, and I learned a lot from both of them. They're both very, very different. But yeah, I'm continuing to learn things that I didn't intend to learn, and it's a really cool, unique experience. And also, like Jeremy said, I mean, I would like to continue doing empathy calls. after we're complete, because otherwise I'm not sure who I'm going to do empathy with, because I can't get a lot of people interested in doing empathy. So anyways, I hope there's an opportunity there. Thank you.
Thank you. Trevor?
Hi.
Is Trevor still there? Did he drop out?
No, he's there.
Okay.
It's good to be here this morning. Over this past week, I had a couple of empathy circles, and I actually had a buddy call with Anne, which was really great yesterday. And I'm looking forward to be here today.
Cool beans. I think I got everyone. Do we have time for the trainees?
We do. We're doing really well on time. So just
I think
the
Ruth
training.
just logged in. I think Ruth just logged in. Ruth, did you check in?
Yeah, thanks. Sorry I'm late. Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Ralph.
good. Yeah, good. Just practiced with my boyfriend on the train on the way home. Practiced doing empathy, reflective listening, sorry. Yeah, that was really nice. I like the way it's kind of, you can just casually say to people, oh, you know, shall we try this? You can do it anywhere, and yeah, well, within reason. You need a bit of privacy, but yeah, I really had a great call with Dwayne the other day. It was so interesting. Yeah, yeah, really enjoying, and Larry as well. Really enjoying the interaction, the buddy calls, as the previous person said. Yeah, it'd be good to carry those on somehow.
Okay, cool beans. Did I get everyone outside of the trainers and the trainees?
Mary, just the trainees. I don't think we'll have time for trainers.
Okay. Ralph?
Well, what comes up for me is we lost one of the great peacemakers in the world, Veronica Pellicaric with Pace Bene. And she was suffering quietly, and maybe the only good thing is that she passed before this senseless war, which has been coloring my mood. And boy, the need for empathy, which really was never employed at any point seriously, because talking would have prevented this. You know, I'm doing all right. I do my regular empathy circles, and you know, sustains me.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Linda?
Yes, everything is good in North Texas. Had a great empathy call with Issa. I'm hoping she'll show up today. And as I said earlier, I learned a lot about Aruba once we got through the, questions and answers on the Q&A on empathy. And we started talking about each other. Us talking with each other.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you. Dwayne?
Yes, it's interesting. I have a lot of interesting feelings going on, but first I want to thank Ruth, Hannah, Valerie, and also Issa. I had 4 buddy calls, and it was actually really enjoyable and really refreshing, especially for someone like me, who is generally at home. I'm alone most of the time. And so I really enjoyed the interaction. Something that's alive for me today, when I reflect and I think about what's going on in the world, especially the situation with Ukraine and, the violence and everything, and the loss of life. And it also took me to an interesting place because I was born into a country that was openly hostile towards me and my family. And we lived, experienced violence and loss of life. And so I thought, you know, humanity, we have a long way to go, because not only is it important to do the work with people who are in distant lands, but also as a reminder of some of the work that still, you know, needs to be done in our own homeland. Because, you know, I was in Ohio and I was in communities and where I definitely felt unwelcome. And I was definitely concerned about my safety at times, and not to the level of what's going on in Ukraine, but I also think it's really important that, you know, we continue to do the work everywhere that's needed. And I empathize with the people of Ukraine, and I'm hopeful overall that, you know, and I'm hopeful because of the energy of people like you in this room, that we will be able to move beyond where we are today. But we still got a lot of work to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Dwayne. I think I'm the only person left. As I mentioned earlier, I'm just grateful to be surrounded by people who are bringing, you know, who are bringing integrity back to humanity. You know, really displaying what it is to be filled with love and offering love and support to people. And you know, I was thinking of doing holding a clubhouse room for empathy, just to listen to people and hearing people today. I think I might do that. I was contemplating it, but I think I just might do that, giving people a platform just for people someone to just listen to them. You know, people have a lot going on in their lives, and I'm just grateful just to be a part of this movement and this group, and just being surrounded by people like you guys. So yeah, I'm just glad to be here. So that's my spill.
I'll tell
Yes,
you,
Larry.
I think Swan and Issa just logged in.
Oh, we have people that just came in. Wait a minute, let me find them.
Swan and Issa.
Oh, wait, I see Swan. Hi, Swan. So let me tell you what we're doing. We're just talking about if we done any circles the past week, what we our buddy calls, and just doing short check-ins. Any questions or comments about our last session?
Yeah, well, I had a buddy call on Saturday with Faith, and it was about, I think it was about an hour or so, probably longer maybe. A very energizing experience. Felt very energized afterwards, talking with her and bouncing around ideas for our empathy projects. So that was great. And don't really have any questions for last week's session. So yeah, that's all I have to report for that.
Okay, thank you, Swan.
Thank you.
Issa? Issa, are you there?
Yes, yes, I just unmuted. Yes, hi everyone. For me, it has been a good experience so far. I had a good time with my buddies. I'm not really sure yet what I will do. I want to continue with the trainings. I want to see how things will unfold. And I'm really enjoying it so far. So I'm very grateful to be with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Did I get everyone? No one else popped in, right?
You're good. It's
Okay.
on to Anne and Larry.
Okay, so Larry and I are going to do the feedback questions tonight. So I'm going to do the first one and I'll pass to Larry afterwards. So someone mentioned allowing the speaker to criticize other members. and a question about wondering whether this is empathic behavior. Well, I think that probably what's wanted here is like how to deal with it in a circle. And Larry and I spoke about this. And of course, if we speak from within ourselves and intend no harm, then that would be a good approach. But if it happens in a circle when you're facilitating and the listener is struggling with dealing with it, then I think as a facilitator, it's fine to step in and model how to reflect that back empathically, so that the other participants and the listener get to hear how you could do that. And reflecting with, I hear that you think such and such, or that you're feeling such and such, which takes potentially the sting out of it and allows everybody to kind of calm and reflect on it. Anybody, Larry, did you want to add anything to that one?
Yeah, that was perfect, Anne.
Over to you for the next one then.
All right, thank you, Anne. The next question that came in says, I am glad that how to deal with strong emotional responses was addressed. I am concerned that opening up people and not checking in that they are okay might be irresponsible. And Anne and I talked about this one, and we came up with that with the empathy circle. It's very valuable to practice and trust the process of the empathy circle, and also to practice pausing from time to time to clear and find out if everything is clear. And then there are the buddy calls to help clear up anything that might have gotten stirred up in emotionally in an empathy circle. And I'd just like to add that for me, one of the most valuable learnings and benefits from the empathy circle training for me is to realize that developing true empathy is all about developing trust in my own self ability to remain empathic and to know how to recover quickly from any amygdala hijacks. And this, of course, involves practice, practice, practice. Okay. All right. Back to you, Anne. Oh, go ahead.
You complete?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So I think the next one was, what are the ideal goals and outcomes from circle facilitation? And I think that probably the answer there is like those universal values that are inherently within all of us, of liking and wanting to be connected, to have connection, to being heard, and to be at peace with one another. But it depends on your circle and what your topic is, as whether there's something else that you might have in mind during that circle, of course, which you would be determining. But I think those are the primary things. Larry, add anything, please, or on to the next question.
I think that's it. And the next one is, are we gelling was the question. And I was a little initially thrown off by the word gelling. And I was like, what is that? And then Anne and I talked about it, and it's like, you know, are we kind of congealing? Are we forming? Are we maturing? Are we coming together? And yeah, empathy is about developing that ability to come together and remain peacefully in conversation with one another. And here we are doing that. So yes, back to you, Anne.
Yeah, and I think I would add in that I think when you have a circle and you go round and the circling happens, then that gelling does take place. If you have a maybe an hour and a half, 2 hour long empathy circle, that you do notice, and you'll notice that gelling happening. Next one I've got is, what does one do if a situation
excuse me.
arises?
Can I add a quick comment?
Yeah, Dwayne, please do.
Excuse me. I also think, and I've mentioned this before to Edwin and also in the group, that as it relates to the facilitation training, I think there's an opportunity for community and team building to take place. I also think it's useful to provide some type of exercise to help facilitate that. Because I think it's really, in my opinion, I think it's important, you know, that we continue to build a sense of community within the group of people who become facilitators and trainers moving forward. So thank you for allowing me to add.
Yeah, Dwayne, absolutely. I agree with that. And I think by by having the buddy calls during the course, you will have made connections, and we do encourage you to follow those up and keep connected. Feel free to ask anyone for a buddy call at any point, really. And it is always good to have people to call on when you want to, if you have a project that you want to do, that you've got people that you know could potentially come and back you up and do it with you. The next question was, what does one do if a situation arises that was totally unexpected and you as facilitator don't know in that moment how to handle it? Well, I empathize with you having that question, but I think that basically as you become more experienced and you gain confidence in dealing with some of the challenges, you'll find your better resource. But otherwise, I would say take a deep breath. Allow yourself to ground yourself. Notice yourself. And there isn't a rush to deal with something. Try to be in the present moment and just practice. Use the time today to have challenges if that's something that you have in mind that you might be concerned about. But have faith in yourself. I think we do have it in you. I think that's all, isn't it? I think there was one other thing about what forums or groups do you think benefit from learning about empathy circles? Well, I think I won't attempt to answer that one now, but I think it's a question for all of us. Unless anybody wants to add anything in. Bill?
Just, I agreed with everything you said about if you're overwhelmed. But one tactic in the moment when you feel you don't have that capacity is just to be transparent about your process. Hey, I'm having a problem here. That humanizes you and tends to take the edge off of it. Just say, I'm having a problem with this. What can we do? And just be, transparent and honest. Yeah.
Yeah, and can I add, Bill saying that has reminded me of something else that you can do. If you've got somebody in the circle who maybe is your co-facilitator or someone you know is competent in the process, you can always ask them to listen to you and reflect back what your thinking is. So you're transparently finding a solution to whatever it is. And that will be kind of, yeah, Lou.
I just wanted to add, the other thing you can do is clean it up later. So this is true of actually all kinds of communication problems, which is that if it didn't go well in the moment, you can always, after later, when you think about it or figure something out or consult with someone, you can come back later and say, what, this thing happened and I didn't know what to do in the moment, but I realized later that this is what I wanted to say about it. And a lot of good communication is cleanup, not knowing what to do in the moment.
Yeah, and can I add to that was that if you're in a cafe, you have a circle, it is always good practice to have a debrief session afterwards to review anything that you might have found tricky at the time and sound it out with the other facilitators. We always do that after these sessions. We look at anything that might have arisen. So please take that opportunity. And if you don't have anyone, a buddy call, run it past somebody else afterwards. Elizabeth.
I just wanted to ask a question that you brought up in my mind. Sometimes people say very private, personal things in these circles, and I don't recall that in our introductions, we say that, you know, what is said here stays here and goes no further. So I have added that to my introduction. I don't know if that's kosher, with, you know, just adding your own thing to the rules. But it just seems to me people are threatened, especially like with groups of neighbors or friends, that what they've said is appeal to others. So is that, you know, is that the way to handle that? And you could answer that.
I don't do that personally, but in fact, I'm doing most of my circles online, not in a neighborhood. So you might want to do something different. But I find that what people are prepared to speak about and be heard about, and they figure out, it's never actually been a problem. But please, one of the other trainers might want to add something in there.
So
Lou?
that question is a question that has come up many times. I think, so you can do that, add a confidentiality statement. If it's a public circle and you don't know the people who are coming, you know, I also wouldn't want to create a false sense of security, that people think that it's safe to share anything, and then someone in the circle doesn't really honor that, you know. And so I don't say anything because I trust that people will say what they're ready to say. And yeah, so I worry more about creating a false sense of security if you don't have an ongoing relationship with the people who are present.
Thank you. Thank you, Lou. Linda?
Yes, Elizabeth, I've done that, but the circle was a group of women that we frequently get together. And we knew it was about a personal issue going on with one of the people in the group. So I did say that because I felt like I had to, you know, everybody acknowledged. Now, if I was doing it with somebody that I didn't know, strangers, or as Lou said, in a public setting, you really have no follow through or follow up or control over, you know, it's out there. But this was, yeah.
Thank you.
That's just what I wanted to know.
And I think I need to hand it back now. Who's next? Otherwise, we're going to overrun, I think.
Linda.
All right. Thank you. We're now ready to, excuse me, I wasn't ready. I'm paying attention to the question and answers, but we're now ready to go into the breakout rooms. If you're in a room with Edwin, that I just want you to know that you will be, that film or video will be going. So this is Circle. This is our last one too, for anyone that was not sure. This is the fifth and last one. And this Circle is for integrating our experiences and learnings, also for harvesting feedback about the benefits of the training. We also like to hear what you will do next with Empathy Circle practice and training. We're going to post, that'll be Edwin will post whatever the question will be for today. And our next step with applying empathy circles and building a culture of empathy. Or, well, that's one of, or whatever is allowed for you. So Edwin, I don't know how much time we're going to have.
We have about an hour and 10 minutes.
Okay, is it 3 minutes or?
Yeah, we'll do 4 or 5 minutes. Some groups are 5 people. You might want to do 4 minutes in that group. And then if you're just 4 in a group, do 5 minutes.
Okay, and
but it's up to the facilitator. I guess you got to kind of read the room too, but that's a guideline.
Okay, and again, let me find the question again. I think it's
I posted the questions in the chat too.
Okay, great. Let me find it. So
yeah, I think we're ready to go.
Yeah, so we'll
it's a simple empathy circle. It's a simple empathy circle today. There's no challenges. We have room 1 is Lou will be facilitating. We'll be in the weight room. I'll be here with you. Bill will facilitate the room, and then Dwayne with room 4 with Anne as support, Altonia with Celine as support, and then Ralph with Larry, and then Linda will be facilitating another room. So, and then we go for about a quarter till the hour. So that's a little bit, an hour and 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then we'll come back. We're coming back 15 minutes early for an earlier debrief. So, yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to restate the questions, even though they are in chat. What are your next steps when applying empathy circles and building a culture of empathy, or whatever's alive for you?
Yeah, if you have any questions, like there was the questions about confidentiality, it's a good space to share those type of questions too, and kind of just see what the room says about those. So here we go. Thank you, everyone. We're heading into the rooms now, and I will give a 10-minute heads up before we come back. This is the wait room, so people will be coming through here if they kind of get dropped out and then come back, and it is recorded. This one is recorded, so a heads up on that. Take it away, Lou.
So hi, Elizabeth, Catherine, and Jeremy. Nice to be in Circle with you. Haven't been in Circle with you before. So Edwin, are you participating too?
Yep, I'm a participant.
Okay,
No
so,
challenges for me.
So we've got 5 people, so let's do 4-minute speaking turns. And yeah, so the questions are, what are your most valuable learnings and benefits from this training? And or what are the next steps that you're thinking about in applying empathy circles to building a culture of empathy in your world, or whatever's alive in you? So who would like to start? I'll be keeping time.
I can start.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Cool, thank you. So you'll be listening.
Do you want me to? You want me to be your listener?
I figure, yeah, that works.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Okay, go ahead.
Thanks. Yeah, I definitely think that just this training has definitely given me like just a lot of confidence in facilitating the process, just being familiar with the process and being able to facilitate, and just not even just addressing challenges that I've had to experience in the training, but seeing the way that other people have experienced the facilitation. I'll pause there.
So the training has helped you build a lot of confidence in your ability to facilitate empathy circles, and you're grateful for that, and that you also learned a lot, not just from having challenges presented to you, but from watching how other people responded to challenging situations.
Yeah, so I definitely think that was super valuable. I also think it's just valuable to build connections, and I think that we're all here for we have a lot of the same values, and so I feel like building community through the training itself has been very rewarding.
Yeah, so meeting other people, training together, building a sense of community and belonging, and finding people with shared values, that has all been really valuable for you.
Yeah, I feel like it's just kind of like another like support group or like social support group that we could all like fall back on when we need some more empathy, you know? So I guess in terms of next steps, I don't already knows this, but I've been trying to kind of work on creating a culture of empathy and just compassion on my campus around the climate crisis, and just in general about like social and environmental topics. So I'm going to continue trying to work on that.
Yeah, so you're saying that you've really found it valuable, and you love the idea of having another community where you have social support and where you can go for empathy if you need it. And then in terms of building a culture of empathy in your world, it sounds like you're on a campus, you're in college, and you're trying to build some community and do empathy circles around climate change.
Yeah, that's kind of how I found out about this whole building a culture of empathy movement, because I was just struggling with learning lots of really difficult information about people in the world and nature, just everyone's suffering and all this just really heavy like sad information about the environment in the world. And I was like, damn, I don't have anywhere to talk about how I'm feeling. So I was just like trying to create like a space for people to be heard. And then I got connected with Edwin. So it kind of worked out that we had the same values right there.
Yeah, so with all that's going on in the world related to climate change and kind of all the stress and worry that you carry because of that, you were looking for some way to have community around that or find people that wanted to talk about that. And so the Empathy Circle turned out to be, that's how you found Edwin and is one of the things that you would really like to do.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it's just given me like I'm really thankful because I feel like I have another tool to like build that community. Like I kind of intend to do like have the space be just something that's available to people on the campus community, like not just students, but, faculty, grad students, just regular community members. But I definitely want to employ the empathy circles as a tool in building a community. And I also want to complement that with other sorts of means of bringing people together. So I'm just grateful to have the skills to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're really grateful to have a tool like the Empathy Circle to create a context for bringing people together because you really want to bring faculty and students and everyone together in your world to do that. And you have other means that you want to use also, but having Empathy Circles as a tool in your toolbox you feel like you love that.
Totally. Yeah. And I'll just say one last thought because I know my time's up, but I think that it's perfect because I've been trying to find a way to have some sort of controlled dialogue about this. And I think it's the perfect kind of, I just want to speak to the structure. Like the structure is perfect for that kind of dialogue. So it's awesome.
Yeah. So one of the challenges with bringing people together and creating community is what sort of process do you do? How do you bring people together in a way that works, that really connects people or helps them say what they want to say? And so you think the Empathy Circle is just the right tool for that, and so you're very grateful to have it.
Thank you. I feel fully heard.
Great, thanks. Okay, I'll speak to Catherine.
Hi, Lou.
Hi. Yeah, so my heart's really full. It just gives me so much hope and just kind of a deep satisfaction to be with others. Just like Jeremy was saying, people coming together that share values and feel a sense of community connection and have a way of being together, like the Empathy Circle, that helps that happen. It just, it feels so good. I'll stop there.
So you're feeling really great, satisfied, heartful, full of hope, and feeling really connected with I guess the people that you've engaged with and the ability to have a process and a tool for building community and building connection with other people. So not only the community that you've engaged in with the training, but also the hopes of building more community with the process.
And the folks here. So just listening to Jeremy and seeing your faces.
Yeah, and everybody here, and like what Jeremy was saying, the connections with the community.
Yeah. So in my own world, I am doing political depolarization work with a group called Braver Angels, and this week I'm going to hold an empathy circle with the members of my local alliance who we've been doing workshops together for about a year, a little less than a year, and they want more ways to listen to one another better and practice more. And so I'm gonna be holding empathy circles with them this week to expose them to that process and teach them that process.
So that's great. You belong to a group called Braver Angels, which engages in political depolarization, and you have meetings with alliances who are looking for ways to listen better when they engage in the process through Braver Angels. And you're looking forward to bringing more of this process to them.
Yeah, not alliances. It's more my local alliance in my local area, which I'm part of, and the skills in the empathy circle are totally aligned with the skills that they teach in Braver Angels. They just don't have any practice groups in Braver Angels, so there's no people learn the skills, but then there's no way really for them to practice them. Yeah, so I'm excited about the idea of introducing this, or the idea of introducing practice groups.
Yeah, so the skill sets that you're learning in the Empathy Circle Facilitation are completely aligned with the skill sets and the values in Braver Angels. And so you're looking forward to bringing that to the next group, but also there isn't always an opportunity to practice the skills that are learned. And so practicing with Braver Angels is something you look forward to. I think I got all that. My phone started ringing, and
Okay.
sorry, I need to turn it off.
Yeah.
I have turned it off.
Yeah, and then also in my local community, I'm interested in starting a conversation about race, and also a conversation about policing. And I plan to use empathy circles for those content areas.
Yeah, so you have some immediate topics and areas to bring forth with discussions in your local area, specifically with race and policing. And so you look forward to bringing those skills into these discussions, to have these topic discussions.
Yeah, thanks. I feel heard.
Thank you. Okay, so I will pick Elizabeth to be my listener.
Great.
Hi, Elizabeth. So I had a rough weekend and just woke up a little while ago. So I'm still, I was awake and then I had to nap. So I am realizing how important it is to be prepared and fresh and bringing your whole self to these discussions. I normally have a routine and a wake up and all of that, and today it kind of disintegrated. So I'm feeling a little boggled about bringing my whole self to this right now, but I'm coming up.
Okay. You feel as if you had a difficult weekend and you didn't sleep very well, or you didn't get enough sleep. And normally you are up and prepared and you have a whole routine that you go through so you can bring your entire self to the conversation. But you were not feeling that this morning. And in fact, you had to go back to bed for a little while. And so you're working on it presently, trying to bring yourself up to that level, if I understood you.
Yeah, and I'm realizing even more so how important it is to bring your whole self to these discussions and be fully present. And I think that's something that I value about the learning and the training. It's always there in life, but it's what I value in the learning and the training. I haven't experienced it quite like this today, so I value that. But also, we don't have always the ability to just sit and listen, or the culture to just sit and listen to other people. So being mindful about what I'm saying as well as what other people are saying was one of the things that I have really valued in this process.
Okay, so one of the things that you have felt is that you've learned and is really valuable is that you do need to be fully present to do this correctly, to be fully empathetic. And you realize that it's not always possible to be in a situation where you can listen very well and thoughtfully, or speak that way. And so this is a very valuable lesson that you're taking from the Empathy Circle training, that to bring yourself fully into the circle.
Yeah, and also just our culture isn't always one where we know that we are being fully listened to or being fully heard. So being mindful about the words that I'm using, as well as being mindful about what the other person is saying, has been a good process and a good practice.
So you have found it very valuable because in our culture, we are often not fully heard, or we don't feel fully heard, or we don't fully hear other people, to be part of this process where you must be mindful of how you're choosing what you say and how you're listening to what others say.
Well, that went by quickly. Thank you. I feel fully heard.
Okay, I will pick Ed to be my listener, if that's okay.
Yep, you bet.
Oh,
Listening.
I'm worried about challenges.
No challenges. Yeah.
Okay. So I think I'm addressing both questions together here. What's alive for you today, and what are the benefits of, or what have I learned? What are the lessons that I've learned in these empathy circles? I think they're all meshed now. Alive for me, of course, is the Ukraine situation. And the just endless bad news that we are confronted with every day. Like Jeremy, I'm involved with climate change. That's why I'm doing empathy. Circles are what got me into it. Now I have other reasons for continuing it, but between the pandemic and the really dire situation we're in with the climate crisis, we should call it, not anything else really, and now a war, it's hard to be in any way optimistic for me.
So it's just really hard to be optimistic because of all the bad news that's constantly coming, the war, climate change, etc.
Yes, exactly. And I am heartened by this, that people do like to listen to each other, if they can learn how to do that, and that people like to be heard. But I'm very worried about the time frames that we have to actually correct things.
Yeah, I got a little tickle in my throat. Sorry.
Good listening.
Yeah. So you're really concerned about the time frames, this limited time for addressing these issues.
That's right. And I'm, as far as personally, what I'm taking away from these empathy circles, well, there's a great deal. And I think everything Jeremy said and everything that Catherine said is exactly right. But what has really stood out to me is how many things are going on in my own mind when I'm trying to listen to somebody, and how difficult it is for me to banish my advice, my corrections, my this or that, and just listen. And so I'm extremely glad that I'm doing this, because I do think I'm getting better at it.
So I'm hearing you're extremely glad that you're doing this because you're noticing all the things going on in your mind. There's sort of distractions, and this is a way to listen better.
Absolutely. And I've been touched and, gratified by the way the circles that I've been involved in have proceeded. And I think I've learned a lot just from being even a silent listener, about how people interact and body language. And yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, so you're learning a lot just by being an observer, as a silent listener, observing the body language and also the actual learnings from the process.
And so as far as what we would do next, I'm hoping we'll go over that at the end of this session. How you move from being at the end of your 5-session training to being a trainee or to being a trainer. I'm not familiar with how you go about that. My next step is to be leading empathy circles on a college campus, having to do with climate.
So you're wanting to know about the next steps. How do you go from to be a trainee and then a trainer? And for you, you'd like to do empathy circles around climate on a college there where you're at.
I feel heard, completely heard. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Speak to Lou.
Okay.
Speaking about college, Jeremy was doing that empathy cafe this weekend, and we're in the same area. He's at UC Berkeley. So one of his friends, Jed, came by and he picked up the empathy tent and he took it there, and they actually were using the empathy tent. And so, yeah, I'm really curious how it went.
So Jeremy and his friend are doing empathy circles on the Berkeley campus, which is right where you are. And so they came and got the empathy tent and did that, which sounds like that was exciting to you. And you're really curious to hear how it went.
Yeah, they didn't set it up on the campus, but at a park, in Berkeley. But it'd be great to set it up at UC Berkeley on Sproul Plaza. We've set up many times there. And you get hundreds, thousands of students walking by, so they kind of see it. And it's a really good way to get the word out, to be out there in public.
Yeah, so they didn't take the tent to the campus. They set it up in a park in Berkeley, but you'd love to see them do that on campus. You've done that a bunch, and it attracts a lot of people.
And we have 2 tents. Bill has one at his house too, and he's not too far from here too. So we got 2 tents, Jeremy, to set up if you're wanting to. And we have some great pictures of doing empathy circles on Sproul Plaza. The lawn in front of the administration building. There's a really great picture of Lou leading facilitating an empathy circle. So it's a great spot there. Yeah.
So you want Jeremy to know that you've got 2 tents, because Bill's got one too, and that he'd be welcome to use them, and just a little more detail there about how all the times that you've set up tents in Sproul Plaza and how successful that's been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, actually. It's successful and fun. Then, so for next step, also, I heard some mention about Ukraine. So I sent out an email to the list about doing some empathy cafes or democracy circles for Ukraine. So if anyone's interested in taking part in those, helping facilitate, I was wanting to get sort of reach out to the Ukrainian, maybe the expatriate or refugee community, or if they're wanting, just support for, just to be heard, feel that they're not alone, that there's other people willing to listen and hear them and connect with them, is a way to do something constructive to offer that support.
Yeah, so you wanted Jeremy and everyone else to know that the bringing the tents onto the campus at Sproul Plaza wasn't just successful, it was also a lot of fun. It's a good way to have a lot of fun. And then you wanted everyone to know about your project to do empathy circles to support the Ukrainians and expats in Ukraine, and just giving people details about that and inviting them to participate.
And if I was in the area, I'd go to Ukraine with the empathy tents and set up there. I saw they had these bridges, across the between the Donbas and the Ukraine, so the rest of the Ukraine, setting up the empathy tent. You needed like 100, people who are willing to die, I guess, and set up empathy tents, there on the middle of the bridge and say, hey, we're willing to listen, invite the Russian soldiers over to talk. And because I think it needs something, that it needs a commitment. Like if you really want a culture of empathy, you got to be as committed as the soldiers are to, putting their life on the line. So I think that would be something to really shift the discussion. Yeah.
Yes. So you really have a strong desire to try to contribute to peace and what's going on in Ukraine. And if you were closer geographically, you would go there with empathy tents and you'd set it up on a bridge between the two sides and invite people to come and have dialogues. And you think that if we're really going to advocate for peace and understanding and empathy, that we have to be willing to take as big a risks as the soldiers are in terms of safety. And yeah, getting the two sides talking, you think is really important.
Yeah, I feel heard. Thanks.
I'll go to Jeremy.
Yeah.
Well, I love Edwin's fearlessness, and I love his determination. Those are two qualities that I respect and I admire, and I could use more of myself.
So I'm hearing that you really love Edwin's two qualities of Edwin's, his fearlessness and his determination. And those are two things that you would like to embrace and work on yourself in your own life.
Yeah. What else is up for me? You know, when I think about Ukraine and making whatever contribution I can, I'd love to participate in circles, which I did, like at the beginning of the pandemic, and would organize some circles for doctors in New York, where the outbreak, you know, that's where it started, and the healthcare system there was very overwhelmed, and we did a bunch of empathy circles for doctors and other medical professionals, and that was really wonderful. Yeah, so I'd be happy to participate in helping the stuff happen in Ukraine.
Okay, so I'm hearing that going off of what Edwin said about kind of helping kind of provide resources through empathy circles to those in Ukraine, you were thinking back to early in the pandemic when you guys, or Edwin and you, organized some empathy circles for, you know, the doctors who were really struggling with the healthcare system in New York that was particularly overwhelmed by the COVID crisis. And you felt like that was very beneficial and rewarding, and so you'd love to continue doing that with this crisis.
Yeah, and the other thing that comes to me strongly is just what a miracle it is that we have this technology, Zoom, that allows this to happen at a distance. Here we're seeing each other and hearing each other and seeing each other's faces and body language. And you know, it's not the same as being face to face, but it's a miracle that people, like-minded people who want to do something together, can connect in this way. You know, I was born in the 1950s, and I've been a media professional most of my life and an information technology person. So to be able to do this is just, it's a miracle. It's an absolute miracle.
I'm hearing that, you know, affirming that the ability for us to just meet over Zoom and connect and, you know, see each other's faces and really just be present. You know, it might not be exactly as full as being in person, but it's just a miracle that we're able to meet this way and connect. And considering that from your background of being born in the 50s and being super interested in or an expert in like information technology and so on, this is just, you just want to affirm that this is just, you're so grateful for this miracle of this technology.
Yeah, it's science fiction. I feel heard. Thank you.
Yeah, also just say I do think it's science fiction, and anybody would like to be my listener?
Yeah, thank you. I feel heard.
Catherine, maybe would you like to be my listener?
I'd love to, Jeremy. I'm waking up.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of amazing things being said right now, so I'm a little bit overwhelmed about what to like talk about. I guess I'll talk about two things in particular. Like, I wanted to comment on what Edwin said about the climate healing circle and give him some feedback on that. And I want to talk about the Ukraine thing because that's been like on my mind a lot. But I'll start with the positive. So
Okay,
yeah,
so you're feeling overwhelmed. Sorry for interrupting, but I need to capture that. Or you're feeling overwhelmed because there's so much to comment on and talk about and do with empathy circles, but you're going to break it into two areas. First, what Edwin said about the empathy tents and climate change, and also what Lou was talking about with the Ukraine, about Ukraine, because that's been really alive for you.
Totally. Yeah. Okay, so with the first thing being positive, the healing circle that we had this weekend was great. Jed's just a great person, great community organizer. And it was awesome because it was so intersectional. We didn't just talk about climate change. We talked about, social and racial justice and people getting displaced from living in Berkeley and the youth and all these different aspects of just like practical human problems, and just hearing from these nonprofit leaders and just real members of the Berkeley community. It was so like amazing for me just to like witness and just be in their like space and share with them. So I'll pause there.
So the healing circles this weekend were incredible, and it was more than what you expected, because the ability to share and the levels of intersectionality among all these nonprofit leaders talking about these different very relevant topics, like housing and displaced youth, and not just climate change, as you had gone in there with, really made you feel full, and made you feel like there's a great process for people being heard and sharing together.
Yeah, we were sharing the space, and specifically with the empathy tent, it went pretty well. We had about like 2 groups of 10, so we split them up into like, we did 2 circles for one group, and then we did like another 2 circles for another group of 10, so it was 4 in total. I definitely felt like some challenges coming up, but overall it was great to just kind of connect with people from the community about all sorts of different things. And by the end of it, everybody was super gratified and wanted to get more information. So I feel like that's a win.
Cool. So you, so for the empathy tents, you were able to work with 10 different people and do 4 circles, and you split it up into 2 different groups. And there were definitely some challenges that you can address, but overall it was incredibly, everyone was really grateful for it. Everyone was asking a lot more questions about it, and you're feeling like you made a lot of progress.
Yeah, thanks. And I could talk about it more, but I'm really overwhelmed about the Ukraine thing, so I'm going to talk about that now. I don't think it's 100% like certain that this is going to happen, but I've this idea, this possibility of like international like nuclear war like really troubles me, because I feel like all of the work that we've been doing could just be like thrown like out by something that devastating. And I don't know, I have anxiety. Like sometimes I just have anxiety in my day-to-day life, and it's really bringing out a lot of that like overwhelmed. I'm feeling pretty distracted just by that uncertainty.
Yeah, so you want to shift to the Ukraine because just the whole Russian invasion has brought about a lot of anxiety, and you do get anxious about things overall, but this is a really huge deal, because you feel like the progress that you make in daily life and over time in school can just all be washed away with something like this. And so probably, takes a lot of hope away when something like this happens.
Yeah, I know my turn's up. I'll just finish by saying like, yeah, especially with the activism and like trying to do like, like empathy circles, or trying to like work on whatever climate social activism, I feel like that could all just be thrown down the drain if there was like a nuclear war, and it'd just be so sad to see like all of our efforts just like collapse. So that's definitely been just like in the back of my head, and I'm trying to like replace that feeling with positive experiences, but it's just hard to focus on work right now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's with all of your work with social activism and putting your heart into things like that, if there could be one thing that could just wipe all that progress away, like a nuclear war or something like that. And so just in the context of social activism and then this greater thing that's out of your control, is kind of bringing a lot of anxiety about the potential of it all just collapsing.
Yeah,
So you're
thank
trying to
you. That's,
stay positive and bring some positive thoughts into what you're doing and keep moving forward.
yeah, thank you. Feel fully heard.
Thanks, Jeremy. Gosh, I find in these circles that everyone is so rich with passion
Who are you speaking to,
about.
Catherine?
Sorry.
Who do you want to reflect you?
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right.
I was thinking I had done that. How about Edwin?
Listening.
Okay. I find that these circles and the people in them are so rich with passion, and we have shared concerns about things. And so I think it is a brilliant process for bringing people together. And what I've been, I guess, most impressed and surprised by is how global this group is, meeting people from all over the world and also engaged in things all over the world. So that's been one of the most valuable parts of being involved.
So one of the most valuable parts of being involved is just seeing the global aspect of it, people from all over, and there's a real richness that comes up in this process. I guess it's sort of an appreciation of that richness.
Yeah, and I've been involved in climate change for a number of years. Actually, a lot of things, social justice and so forth. It's another part of this process that I've really extremely enjoyed is the buddy calls and the ability to go deeper into just who's behind all the training and the trainers, and to see the rich spirituality and social aspects of who's involved in who you've attracted to these to the training.
So you've been a social justice and climate activist and work in that area. And one thing I'm hearing that you really appreciate of this is with the empathy buddy calls, you're able to go deeper into the person with each person, kind of be able to really see who they are and kind of go a bit deeper.
Yeah, so that part of the training I've really enjoyed. Is like as far as climate change, I had a great talk with Larry, who was my buddy last week, and I think we share a lot of common views about this over time. As I was younger and angry about certain things, I realized how it's almost like coming in the middle and listening, to letting people be heard about what is the experience that brought them to their beliefs and what is the experience that they're having, has really been the most progress in my personal life, with people who think opposite, rather than kind of raging attention and trying to get people to change their mind.
Yeah, so there's been a shift from sort of being angry, trying to get people to change their mind, to really understanding the stories behind each person, what brought them to where they are right now, and hearing some appreciation for seeing the sort of the deeper story there.
Yeah, and I've come to see that that's really the only way that progress can be made. And one of the things that Larry said this weekend that really impressed me and struck me is that he shared a quote, actually, that climate change isn't an environmental problem, it's a spiritual one.
So Larry shared a quote that says that climate change is a spiritual problem, not just a technical problem. And sounds like that really resonated with you.
It really does. And I feel like the way that the analogy is the way that I feel connected with the planet and the environment, the outdoors, even the clean water, the everything is the way that we are spiritually connected with other people, and it's all the same. And so the empathy circles are a brilliant process for finding that connection, no matter what.
So there's a sense of deep connection you have with the environment, with water, but it's the same. The empathy circle helps create that same sort of spiritual connection with people too, the deeper connection.
Yes, I feel fully heard. Thank you.
Enough. Okay, thanks. Elizabeth? Yeah, I just keep, in terms of what to do next, I just keep trying new things, you know, running for office. So let's run for Congress as the empathy candidate. You know? Let's try that. Let's try an empathy candidate. Let's try this. So it's I know Catherine has human-centered design, you know, background. So for me, it's like, just keep iterating. You know, it's an iterative process. So just try this, you know, test it, see how it works. So that's kind of my approach.
So your approach is to just keep, excuse me, just keep trying and test things out, see if they work. If they don't work, move on, think of something new to do, and just keep pushing forward.
Yeah, the design, the human-centered design community that, you know, they design products and services and all kinds of stuff. There's within that community, there's a phrase, fail early, fail often, because you'll succeed sooner, you know, get the failure out. So yeah, I've got so many failures. I got, you know, things that don't work. So, but you just keep, you know, going forward.
So in your experience in design, or I'm not sure that I could hear everything that you said because of my hearing, but you especially resonated with the saying, fail frequently, or fail
early, fail often.
Early, and fail often. So you
succeed
have embraced
sooner.
that and think that's really a good way to proceed. And you employ that in what sounds to be a rather optimistic view of,
yeah,
we'll get there eventually, or at least.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you just keep iterating on it. So so yeah, I just keep looking for, you know, ideas to iterate on. The Congress work is the next one. There's just so much to do, though. I think I'm getting a little snowed under. It's like, oh my goodness, I wasn't expecting to start taking on like Ukraine issues too, you know, but because that's like a huge thing to like organize. You got to set up, you got to create an event, you got to connect with people. Like, oh boy, I'm getting a little overwhelmed though. It's like, oh, I got the enthusiasm, but there's only so much you can do, you know, conceptually, or not conceptually, but there's only so many brain cycles or circle, you know, to be able to apply. So yeah.
So yes, you're always looking for new ideas to iterate and do something new. And then Congress, running for Congress, came up as a viable opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
But now you're feeling very overwhelmed because along with running for Congress comes a whole new slew of issues that have to be addressed, and just activities that you have to engage in.
Yeah, it's the detail work's kind of starting to get to me. There's just so many little details to do. And it's like, I don't want to deal with any more details, you know, but it helps just to be here to kind of complain about it, because I just getting heard about it is kind of helps relieve some of the stress.
So you're feeling stressed by this and you don't really like to deal with all these tiny details, but empathy circles is a great way to relieve some of the stress. You get to just complain about it
and get empathy for it. My complaints and pain gets met with empathy.
So his pain is being met with empathy, and that
yes.
helps.
So thanks for your empathy, Elizabeth. I feel heard.
Great. Okay, I'm going to ask Catherine to listen.
I'd be delighted, Elizabeth.
What am I going to talk about? Let's see. My training is not in design like that. It's in philosophy. And so Ukraine has been bringing up a lot of issues for me in political philosophy and in tandem with a lot of the social justice issues that we are talking about today. So one place where I have been working is with some indigenous people.
Okay. So your background isn't in design, it's in philosophy, and the Ukraine issues have brought up a lot of these of the political philosophy issues for you, in particular with an area that you're working on with social justice and specifically with indigenous peoples.
Right. You know, there's a big movement which seems entitled that for indigenous people to be requesting some of their lands back, or at least some control over their lands that were taken from them hundreds of years ago or 80 years ago or whatever. And there remains a problem about when and at what point is a piece of property no longer someone's? When do you have to concede that now this belongs to someone else?
I'm having a challenge. So yeah, what you're working with is indigenous peoples who are bringing about some amount of entitlement because they're asking for lands back that sometimes could be hundreds of years ago when it was removed from them. And so you're really dealing with questions about how many years can go by, and at what point is it okay to concede and either return the land or to say it's no longer theirs.
Yes, you heard me. Yeah, these are difficult conundrums in philosophy. We have Russia claiming that Ukraine is Russian and was taken from them. And they feel entitled to go in and take back what they fully believe, some of them, not all of them certainly, is theirs. China is supporting them. China, of course, wants to reclaim Taiwan as their own. It's this Chinese, it belongs to us, we should have it. Palestine and Israel, same kind of question. Ireland fought for 800 years over who really has the privilege of owning this land. So these are difficult issues for me. I'm certainly, very sensitive to the people of Ukraine and what's happening to them and the bullying of Putin. But empathy, I think, would have you be able to see that these issues are tied up together.
Yeah, so you're seeing these issues of land and geography being tied up with people and empathy. And we've had other examples. I mean, your closeness with the indigenous thing is bringing about examples from all over the world, from this Ukraine, or from the Russian invasion of Ukraine to China saying that Taiwan is a part of theirs, to Palestine and Israel, Ireland fighting for over 800 years between North and South, I think is what you're referring to, and so it is a big problem at what point you say the people and the empathy for the people and how they're living versus this ownership of land. and this concept, this mindset, I guess, is something a philosophical, a political philosophy that you really have to consider and think about, and empathy is a great way to approach it.
Thank you. I think you really heard me. And I have to say, that is a real relief, because if I start to talk about these people who aren't interested in really listening, they just think, oh, you're a Putin supporter or something, you know, without understanding these entanglements. So thank you very much.
So you're feeling heard because of how you approach it from the subjective viewpoint, philosophical viewpoint. Some people will automatically think that you're have an agenda or an angle on and being a Putin supporter or something, when that's not the case.
Thank you. I was fully heard.
Okay, it's lovely to be there. Okay, so many things. I love these conversations. I want to continue that one and all of the other ones. I need to pick a listener first, so I'll pick Jeremy. If
I'm
you
here.
would, if you will listen to me. Okay, thank you. Yeah, in a lot of ways, I feel as overwhelmed as, not as overwhelmed, I feel overwhelmed along the lines of the way that Edwin described, where there's so many things to do. And in my mind, I get the enthusiasm and the ideas and the plans, and then end up running out of brain cycles and energy cycles to move forward on a lot of things. I have a lot of hope, though, just expanding a whole new network of people who are learning about empathy, circle facilitation, that there's a lot of overlap, and that together we can accomplish more.
Okay, so I'm hearing that similar to Edwin, you're feeling a bit overwhelmed because you have a lot of enthusiasm and like energy to accomplish a lot of things, but it's kind of hard to move forward on all of them. And second half of what you said, so maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, honestly, I drew a blank like halfway through. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. It's the hopefulness that meeting people in the empathy circles, and the type of people that are involved, the hopefulness that that brings, that we can start to overlap and accomplish similar things.
Right, so I'm hearing that being in the empathy circles and this training and so on, and being able to kind of see how we can like overlap our efforts gives you a lot of hope in your work that you want to do the work that you want to do.
Yeah, and my my current I guess goals or hopes are nowhere near as big as Edwin's, but they're along the same lines. And his enthusiasm and ability to organize, gets me very enthusiastic about joining in and helping.
Cool. So I'm hearing that your hopes and desires for the work that you want to do may not be on the large scale that Edwin's work is on at the moment, but they're along the same lines. They're similar, and so seeing, kind of witnessing the work that he's been able to do, like organizing with this building a culture of empathy, and the enthusiasm that he has to keep working is really giving you. It's contagious. It's giving you a lot of enthusiasm as well.
Yeah, and I guess one of the valuable things that I've learned is that every conversation is an opportunity to bring in some aspects of empathy circle facilitation, and we have to walk before we can run. So I've been trying to do that in, pretty much every conversation as long as I remember. And I realize it's a tough kind of habit and a lot of practice for me.
Cool. So I'm hearing that every conversation that you have in your life is an opportunity to kind of like bring in these this empathy, these skills, this practice to life. And so as long as you can remember that to do so, you've been trying to kind of implement this process into all sorts of conversations that you're having in your life.
Mm-hmm. It's around the time, so thank you. That was great. I feel heard.
Awesome. Lou, do you want to listen to me?
Yes, I'd love to listen to you.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of overwhelm too, because you guys just said so many things that just struck me in so many different ways. I'll pause there.
Yeah, so you're enjoying the conversation and feeling overwhelmed by it because there's so many different threads in it. Yeah, and so I'm guessing you're not quite sure what direction to go for yourself.
Yeah, and I took a couple notes because I really liked what Catherine said in her previous turn before this about how Larry I also had as a buddy for one of my buddy calls, and he told me something similar about it being a spiritual problem. And I think a couple other good words that work with spiritual are like human, emotional. It's a problem that I completely agree with is not about technical fixes. It's about how we use technology. It's about how we work with what we have. And it is really about the human dimension to me.
Yeah, so you're saying that you agree with Catherine and Larry that, the climate problem is a human spiritual problem, not a just this environmental or technical problem. And so that question about how do we remain connected with our humanity and spirituality, that's something you're really interested in.
Yeah, and that's literally why I study climate psychology. And I think that a lot of people talk about technocratic fixes to the problem. And I think that we need human solutions. So empathy circles are definitely a part of that. And I'm really passionate about this, but I'm personally just going to admit that I'm still overwhelmed about how to find a job that'll allow me to really work on this kind of stuff in the gap year between me trying to do grad school. But I think that is the way forward. So I'm trying to figure it out right now.
Yeah, so you think of it as, well, I don't know if you're formally studying climate psychology or if you're just saying that's what you think of it as, is climate psychology, and that you are, right now you're grappling with because you care about this so much, so deeply that you want to spend your time working on it, but how can you survive? How can you earn a living doing that? So you're in the process of trying to figure out, how can I work on what's important to me and earn a living? And you're going to take a gap year between now and your graduate studies, and you're in the process of trying to figure that out.
Totally, yeah. And I study cognitive science and some environmental studies, so I kind of just combine them into like a self-study of climate psychology. But yeah, that's what I study. It's amazing. I hope it becomes an educational, like an actual thing that's institutionalized as like a major or something. That'd be great. But also like what you said about being spiritual, maybe think about eco-feminism. And I really love this ethic of eco-feminism. And what you said about Catherine, about our relationship with the world, and being similar to that relationship between us as humans, I kind of see it as we have to reject this logic of domination, right, that we have as humans over the world, and as men over women, white over people of color, able over disabled, wherever you want to go with that, and in favor of something that I've learned about called, this ethic of care and concern and love for earth others. I love this word, earth others. And so I just wanted to like articulate that because I feel like you made me really think about that.
Nice.
Yeah, so you're really appreciating Catherine and how she has encouraged you or stimulated you to think about earth others and how much you connect with that idea. which is the opposite of domination culture, which is one thing over another, like white over black or humans over the environment, and how love and care and connection are what's important. And that's also somehow related to ecofeminism.
Yeah, totally. Thank you. I do feel fully heard, and that was basically the logic of a huge sect of ecofeminism, like radical, or I don't remember the term. Maybe it's eco-social feminism, but it's really cool stuff.
Cool. Okay, let's see. I'll go to Catherine.
I'd be delighted, Lou.
Okay, so yeah, I love what Jeremy said about so the whole thing of one thing over another, that idea of dominating, one thing dominating another, either white over black or humans over the environment, or any kind of one thing over another, which I think of as a broader thing of power over rather than power with. Yeah, I think empathy and human connection and the empathic trying to understand what's going on in others is more power with. And I'm very much committed to that.
Right. So yeah, you're continuing on with these comments that Jeremy brought about, and this concept of ecofeminism, and really the larger context of dominance of one thing over another, whether it's humans or humans over environment or humans over each other, and really thinking about what it is it's power over, and what people want is seem to want is power over rather than power with, which is kind of like this we're better together aspect of joining with to accomplish something. So the empathy circles are a great practice to experience power with among other human beings.
Yeah, and I'm also aware, and I think I've learned that, people use what they know. So if what you learned growing up was power over, when something isn't going the way you like, or you're dissatisfied, that what you do is you try to use whatever power you have to stop it and force the other person to do what you like. If that's what you've learned about how to solve problems, that's what you use. And the other thing is being afraid. When people are afraid, they go to power over, because they're afraid that nothing else is going to work. And so I try to remember that, to have empathy for people who are using those strategies, and try to invite them into a different strategy.
Great. Yeah, so also as a part of understanding and bringing empathy toward strategies of power over, you realize that it's what people have learned in their own environment and growing up, and just knowing how difficult that is to change what you've learned. And also when people go into like a fear mode, they can bring about this power over. So knowing that there are different reasons why people will engage in that strategy, you engage in empathy and also the power with, to bring them over to understanding a new strategy for dealing with what they're trying to dominate, I guess.
Yeah, and I also, at the same time I'm saying that, or hearing you say that back to me, I recognize that when someone is doing a lot of harm, I want to stop them. I want to stop the harm. So even though, but if I can remain conscious about the thing I said before, then I'm just applying enough force to stop the harm from happening. And it's not punitive. It's actually offered with love and understanding. And that's what I think of as nonviolence, and nonviolent social change.
That's great. So at the same time, you realize that, bringing empathy to a process, people may be causing harm, and so you do want to stop it, but try to not stop it so much with power, but with empathy, and to quickly swing into I guess remaining conscious before too much harm is done. To gosh, I had it and now it's all like blah, blah, blah. But trying to not be punitive with how you're dealing with someone, but being empathic, and that kind of would be the seed of helping them change into more of a power with mode.
Yeah, more with love than with animus. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I feel very good.
Okay. Thank you.
We only have about a minute, so we.
Yeah. So maybe we can just how was this for everybody? Any final reflections before we get pulled back into the other room? Or I guess we pulled other people back here.
It was great. I think I have such a long list of next steps that that I want this to keep going. So thank you all.
Anyone else?
I feel the same way. I also wanted to let Jeremy know that I didn't pick him to listen to me because I'm having a very hard time hearing him. And no, for no other reason, but for some reason you're breaking up and I have bad hearing. So I'm really sorry, but I would have liked you to listen to me.
No worries, no worries. I think I have spotty connection right now, but yeah, I thought it was super gratifying. I always learn so much, and I think you guys all really enlightened me in different ways. And I want to learn more about this political philosophy idea with the Ukraine Russia thing, because I'm really interested in that, like land reparation, like who owns the land situation, indigenous people, even in my community. So yeah, I thought that was super interesting, and all of you guys just provided so much wealth.
Being recorded.
Yeah, and I loved my time with the three of you, getting to know you. Great.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. It was great.
We still have another minute? Are we all joining? Oh,
We're all coming back, and it'll be passed on to Bill.
Yeah.
Everybody's back. Yeah, they're all back, I think, now.
Great. Welcome back, everyone. So in this thing, it's a little bit different from what we've done. I'm going to invite about 5 people to respond, because this is a bit of an essay question. We have about 15 minutes, so that's our time frame. And I wanted to talk about what we talked about at the beginning, which is the values of a culture of empathy. A lot of times when we come out, people like, oh, they're the cult people. And there's a difference between a cult and a culture. A cult is blind devotion to a leader or a process without any sort of deviation or anything like that. But that's not what we're about. And the example I give is sometimes with the time limit. We don't cut people off exactly at 5 minutes to be quote unquote fair. You'll find in the art of facilitation, there's a balance between allowing a person to be fully heard and then also giving everyone a chance to be fully heard. And so that's sort of the art of facilitation. So we talked about these values. Again, you might have others or other words, and that's fine. So this is not meant to be a listing of all the values of a culture of empathy, or if you had a different thing. But I wanted to just reflect, and I'll go over those values again, and they were empathy and mutuality. I've heard a lot about that people are very empathic, but but then this is different in that people are empathic towards them as well. Openness and care. And so I'd like to invite, 5 of you. Now you've experienced, now you know those words, right? You know what openness, care, you know what that is. But now you can reflect on them after having experienced this training. And so I just wonder how, and you may have another word, that's fine, but how now you're reconnecting with that and those values, and how this training may have enhanced, altered, whatever, your experience of that. So openness, care, empathy, mutuality. And I'd like to invite anybody to just kind of comment on that. We'll have about 2 minutes for that, I think. So would anybody like to say anything about that? Oh, one new message here. What was that? Okay, that's Celine. Thank you, Celine. How has your experience changed? How has it given you perspective on that?
Well, in today's circle, I really saw such deep empathic listening to people. And I felt like the container grew so that more different opinions or positions could have room within the circle because of the care. And and all of these qualities were really evident.
Great, thank you, Celine. Anyone else? How are you looking at that? How's it changed? How's the training affected you?
Can I?
Yeah, Dorothy.
Okay, so for me, I feel that I'm more connected to the person's voice when I'm hearing them speak. Just beyond the words, it's actually listening to the tone, and then you can feel the emotion behind it. And so I feel then I can have more compassion for what the person is saying. So I feel that that's what it's done for me.
Great, thank you, Dorothy. Anyone else?
Jeremy's got his hand up.
Oh, sorry. Go, Jeremy, thank you.
Yeah, I feel like, care, I think, is at the foundation of the whole process. It's kind of whatever role you're taking, whether that's the silent listener or the active listener, or even the speaker, or the facilitator. If you're in the circle, I feel like being fully present and having a lot of care is just foundational to like allowing the process. I think that's what someone in my group said today, just being very present and caring about what's the process is so foundational. So I've just been noticing that as a really important like value. And then I feel like that just allows you to become more open as the process goes on. And then I think mutuality is just built into it, and it just allows people to reciprocate the empathy. So I've definitely been like more cognizant of how all 4 of these have played out in the process.
Great, thank you, Jeremy. Anyone else? Swan, was you just waving your hand, or did you want to say something?
No, I'm sorry. I was just clicking on
Okay,
something.
that's all right. It happens. Okay, anyone else?
No, I will go ahead and add
Sure.
in. No one else.
Great.
I think the values are incredibly core to what's happening, and I've experienced them so well with other people, so I've really learned a lot. The process of like built-in mutuality is so important. I guess coming in, I wasn't entirely sure what to expect. Typically, facilitation is almost like a one-way thing. And so the practice of having facilitation within where the process is facilitating as well as a person facilitating and engaging in this sort of two-way stream and this shared circle is, I think, really powerful. And bringing care into it, care to actually listen to another person and reflect back and feel heard is super powerful. What I keep wondering about is how it carries over into places where there's a lot of tension and extreme rooted opposition in people's in people's views around things and really wanting to be heard about that. First, I think this is a process where that can make that happen, but it is also about people. And so keeping that care in place at the same time when people are feeling oppositional is something that I really want to experience, how that is managed and facilitated.
Yeah, and there's more on that, a lot more on that. Anyone else? Like,
Dwayne has his hand up.
go ahead, I'm sorry?
Wayne.
Wayne? Dwayne? Okay, sorry.
For me, you know, this is really like mindful based compassionate training. You know, there's a context from which to hear people. And so for me, what I've taken with me during the process is this idea of being, the importance of being really present when I'm listening. And there's another component to that, and that's how I show up for the conversation. But it's really about being mindfully compassionate and being present and really making an effort to really listen and to hear what the other person is saying. And that's the thing that has been enhanced for me participating in this training.
Thank you, Dwayne. Anyone else? Am I missing? No? All right. Sure. Okay. Lou.
Well, I wanted to say something in response to what Catherine said about facilitating circles where, that are on topics where there's a lot of opposition, people have a lot of disagreement. And I would just say, that's where it becomes really important for the facilitator to be able to provide, if a listener is having trouble reflecting someone back because they really disagree with them or they're very charged by what they're saying, where the facilitator can step in and provide the reflection or provide what's missing so that the person feels heard. And my experience with contentious circles like that is that when people do feel heard for what they're saying, the tension tends to come down. And because people are not used to being heard, they're used to getting an argument, when they say something that's very polarizing.
Yeah. Anyone else? Okay, I'll just close as from my perspective, I'm a teacher. Well, I'm a retired teacher, but I'm still a teacher. There's a difference between a cult and a culture. And as a teacher, my participation in the culture was to give my students skills and then let them internalize it and take it out into the world. I do have students who, still associate with me voluntarily. In a cult, you become increasingly dependent on the cult. And that's the difference from what we're doing here. Some of you, as you take it out, will say, oh, this is another cult. It's not. It's a culture. And it's those values from which we then evaluate the empathy circle. Are you doing it with care? Is there mutuality? Are people being open? Are they expressing empathy, not sympathy? A lot of people don't know what empathy means. That makes the difference here. And I just want to express my appreciation to you all of taking that step and expanding your horizons. And now I'll send it over, I think, to, was it Ralph or Larry? Sorry if I didn't, Ralph, sorry. And we'll talk about next steps and things like that. Ralph, take it away.
I'm the old bearded guy without the hat. I have a question to you, Edwin. I've been chatting. My question, you say 2 rounds of questions.
No, it's just one. You're just asking, calling on each person to see what they liked about the training, maybe the benefits for them,
Okay.
as well as what are they doing next, so we can hear what they have going next.
Exactly. And then there are separate questions for the trainees and the trainers.
Yeah, starting with the trainees, just hear how they are, and then for the
got it.
the trainers, starting with the participants, hearing how it
got it.
went for them, then the trainees, and then the trainers, if we have time. I hope we do.
Thanks very much. So I'd like to start with participants, and I'm going to start, if I can, with you, Elizabeth, and then next, Catherine. What'd you like about the training? What are you going to be doing with the empathy circles? You are muted. Thank you.
Thank you. I liked everything about the training, except how long these training periods are. It's very hard for me to sit for 2.5 hours without really getting restless, but I made it, so I feel good about that. It was just a very valuable experience. From the very first meeting, which struck me, I was, can I say somebody's name? I guess I can. It was Isa that I was with in that meeting, who spoke a whole different language from the way I spoke. She spoke from her heart, from her body, her feelings, and it really impressed me. I can't even, it's followed me the whole 5 weeks. And it was amazing to me. He's talking about her heart, taking up her chest. I mean, I don't ever use those kind of words. I talk about how I think, not how I feel. So that was amazing. And every week just added to it. And I'm so thankful for all these different perspectives and everyone really trying their best to listen and be empathetic. And what I will do with it is use it primarily for my social justice climate change work, to try to find common ground, which we all know there's a lot of. And so if we can discover that, we can move forward. Thank you. It's been very, very instrumental.
Thank you so much. Wow. Catherine and then Jeremy.
You're muted.
Here we go. Sorry. Thank you, Elizabeth, for bringing that up, because I really felt the same about it. I've met a lot of people who have a root in the NVC, and so just from a personal standpoint, that's something that I'm going to take on, learning with the more emotional speaking, because I feel like that really adds to the authenticity even when you're in a tough corporate environment or an oppositional political environment. If you can really break down how you're feeling at that moment, whether it's nervous or anything, I think it really breaks down walls and reminds us how human we all are. So that part of this is really something huge and fundamental. And then as far as I guess outside myself, next steps, I'm involved in, I guess, the intersection of a big goal to have corporate environments be more empathic, and also bringing mental health and wellness technology to corporations to help mitigate burnout and stress. And so I feel like it's a great opportunity to help more leaders learn about empathy circles and to lead with empathy. I'm in the job search process right now, so I feel like this is something that I'm very clear about, that I want to be using this in an environment, in whatever environment that I'm joining. And I feel like it's an important thing that I really don't want to join any culture that doesn't want this to be a part of what they're doing. So that's a big part of what I'm doing next. And I also would very much like to bring this to join the Ukraine thing. I'd like to do all that. I just have to figure out how much time I have to do it.
Thank you very much. Such wonderful sharing. And we need to tighten it up a little bit so we can end on time. I've loved it. Jeremy and then Mitch.
Yeah, this whole process has been great. For one, I love, completing something. So I'm grateful that we've all made it this far. Put this time in. It's been great to kind of build relationships and alliances with you guys from all over the world and all sorts of different, walks of life. I feel like I've really gained a lot of confidence and the skills and just awareness about how to use this empathy circle in my personal life, with my family and so on, but also with the interests that I have with climate change and with the crisis and trying to, facilitate compassion and build connections across diverse groups and hierarchies. And so I'm going to continue to work on building this on my campus and trying to create a space where people can do empathy circles and drop in and just be heard and feel supported for all their hopes and despairs and anxieties. And I think that's the catalyst for really making real change. So yeah, I'm super grateful and I'm looking forward to staying connected with some of you guys.
Thank you very much. Mitch and then Alexandra, please.
Yes, well, I can also say this has been a real learning experience for me. As I've mentioned, I wanted to learn about empathy so I could provide it to my son who suffers from depression. And I read the definitions, but until you actually join the empathy circle and get to practice, it's just words and you really don't know what to do. And so I have learned a lot. I still have a lot to learn, especially in dealing with somebody that I'm emotionally connected with, but this has been a great start. There's been great people here, and I have met some really good people. Today's circle was very meaningful, and I just want to thank everybody for the experience that I've had. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Alexandra, then Kara.
Yeah, so I feel like Mitch kind of nailed it on the head. I kind of came in wanting to practice empathy and learn what it was all about, especially from my agency instructors. So I felt like being able to not only read empathy in a textbook, but really be able to practice it and apply it brought a lot of self-awareness, not only to myself, but to bring it to others. And I feel that empathy has created a gate, an opening to many different aspects when it comes to mental health and other topics. So I'm very appreciative and grateful for everybody that I've encountered and had the chance to speak with.
That's terrific. Thank you so much. Kara and then Ruth.
Yeah, so yes, what everybody said, this is so impactful. It's core to being a human, and gosh, doesn't it make you just feel better as a human to do it and experience it and have it? Yes, all of that. For the next steps, I am really looking to get some solid metrics on what empathy impacts on a day-to-day life. So what these circles can do, which is what I'm focusing on next week. And then as soon as I have that, I want to come back and share it with all of you so you can take it and run with it. So that's my plan, is that I'll reach out I will be doing buddy reach outs unless you put in the text that you don't want me to do that with you, because I will be reaching out to y'all. And I'd love to share this with you guys. So let's keep it going.
Thanks for the heads up, Ruth, and then Hannah.
Yeah, thanks. I just made a few notes. I think I've realized the same as what other people have been saying, but just taking the time to listen to someone and is really, really important. I know that sounds really obvious and simple, but this has kind of reinforced it for me, and it's a gift that I can give other people that doesn't cost anything. It's just, and it is worth so much. Yeah, and I agree with one of the previous speakers. For me, it is a new language, and I'm still learning. So I'd love to do more practice. Yeah, so great. Weekly practice would be fantastic for me. How will I use it? Yeah, I'd quite like to learn a bit more about Carl Rogers as well. But at the moment, I'm using it by just telling everybody about it that I know, friends, and then asking them if they want to have a go. I mean, I'm in a few groups with some Buddhist friends, so I think it'd be nice to kind of have a go with them. But other than that, I'm not really sure, so I'm open to suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hannah and then Marion.
The best part for me was definitely connecting with you all and building, and through that, building trust both in others and in myself. That has definitely been the best part and what I'm taking away from this whole experience. So thank you to everyone that has been a part of it. And my next steps will be, I'm hoping to host or facilitate empathy circles for Extinction Rebellion in Gothenburg. And yeah, I'm not quite sure what exactly I'll do, but I doubt that it would stop there. So, well, I'm looking forward to seeing where this takes me.
Thank you very much. Marion and then Isa.
Yeah, thank you. What I learned today is, or what I would remember from today is the impact of what we can say in the group or to the others. Because I used to think, you know, when I express myself, then I feel relieved. Then I express myself and I feel fully heard. Then I listen to others and I understand a bit better. But all this is related to me. And I don't remember if it was Bill at first, you know, who introduced we're not a cult, we should I don't know. We spoke about the war during the circle, and I really appreciated the fact that people would care, you know, the impact of their words on us, because we don't feel the same way, we don't feel the same, and such a big subject, you know, and we it resonated, you know, like everything that everyone said resonated in me. So I will think about that in the next circle when I facilitate. Is like, okay, don't drop something big and massive because it feels good to express it, but be careful with others. So I think after this, I'm more conscious of the impact of my words with others. Now the last few days have been very violent around me, and I was like, oh, it's too much violence. How am I going to change that? And we finished the circle saying, okay, things we can't change in life, but giving empathy is just a good way to start, you know, to care about others. So empathy to myself, empathy with others. For me, you know, it changed everything in my life since I know about empathy, because indeed it's not sympathy, it's different. So yeah, I'll stop there. Thanks.
Très bien. Merci beaucoup. Isa and then Swan.
Yes, thank you. So for me, I feel a mixed emotion, like noticing we are closing today and we will be connected some way or the other. And it has been really great. I've been looking at the faces of the people who were in my group and remembering experiences. So that's what I'm taking away, basically the experiences we shared in the empathy circles. I want to continue training with empathy circles and also join the Ukraine project. And I look forward to keeping in touch with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Swan and then Claire. You can do it. You can unmute yourself.
Sorry.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, well, you know, it's been really great meeting all of you guys. learning from you all, seeing all the things that come out like without us even controlling it or anything, just seeing what everyone just spontaneously says. And so I really enjoyed sharing this experience with you all. And I guess I really appreciated learning the direct hands-on practice that we got to do, all of the challenges. And I think that it does definitely help, all that practice, and it definitely helps with the confidence. And I'm planning to take this out into the community. This is my next step, and facilitating more circles, and then also collaborating with I'm looking forward to collaborating with the other people on this training. And I guess the last thing I'll say is I want to thank, of course, I want to thank all the participants, and also thank all the trainers and trainees for this training. And I've been really grateful to be part of this empathy support movement. Growing the empathy movement, I think, is really inspiring to me. Being able to be part of that movement, it feels like being a trailblazer to me, and I like being a trailblazer. I guess I want to thank Edwin also for being the trailblazer of starting this whole thing. I guess I think if I could have done it, I would have done it, but he did it already. So anyway, I guess that's all I've got to say. But anyway, looking forward to connecting again with all of you in the future.
Thank you so much. And Claire, and then Trevor.
I'm kind of sad that it's the last session. I've been looking forward to having this space every week, to be able to share, and it's been wonderful. So I think, I've really experienced the mutuality, the openness, and the care in those circles. I'm a counselor, so one thing I notice is a lot of what people go through is often just a lack of feeling connected and isolation. So I'm thinking that facilitating empathy circle really can help people to feel connected with more with others. And it can break this isolation that I feel is a massive thing in our current society. So, I am not like a counselor, a group counselors, and I'm thinking, do I really want to be going into group counseling? I think I could just facilitate some empathy circle, and it's not a therapy group, it's just a group where people can just be, and they can just connect, and they can learn empathy. And I think the added bonus is that it does have a massive value for healing people, healing them as individual, but also healing communities, I think.
Thank you so much. Trevor, and then Faith.
I think, like Claire, I want to echo just enjoying the space and the time. Also, like Clara, I'm also doing research on the empathy circle. So this being a part of this training kind of helped me learn the fidelity of the circle. So as I dive into the impact of the circle and what it does, and how it impacts empathy on the individual, I'm excited to see what comes out of it. So
Thank you. People are jumping. I said Trevor, and then Faith,
Yes.
and then Faith, and then Angie, please.
Yeah. Well, yeah, as many people echoed, it's bittersweet moment because I've been looking forward to Monday afternoons to be able to do this. But the good thing is that now I've acquired a tool that I can actually use not only in my own personal life, but to also help others. I want to thank everyone, the facilitators, Edwin, everyone for actually creating this space for us. Where do I go from here? My goal is to as I said earlier to my group, is that it's more of like a lifestyle change to be able to more integrate empathy in my overall interactions in my daily life, but also to include it in the work that I actually do with others too. So that's the hope. And a few of us have connected so far and said we'll stay connected after to support each other in bringing this empathy out to the world. So I look forward to that also. So thank you all.
Thank you so much. Angie, and then Tracy.
Thank you. I'm on a call, please, John. I want to continue and have you set up some empathy circles. I'd love to connect with the people in this group, help anyone that wants support, and keep in touch.
Thank you so much, Tracy. And then last, Valerie.
Thank you. So what did I like about the training? I enjoyed meeting different buddies every week. I enjoyed the empathy circle being modeled. And I also enjoyed the challenges that the trainers and trainees gave me. How will I use it? I would love to be able to use it with my family who live thousands of miles away. I can only pray and hope. And I may use it in an MVC group that I facilitate weekly. Might use it as a regular slot. And that's me. I'm complete. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Valerie, please.
Hi. Okay. Well, yeah, first I want to thank everyone for being part of my cohort. You guys have all been really, really amazing. I'm so happy to have met the people that I did, and I'm actually very sad that I didn't get to meet all of you because I would have really loved that opportunity. So hopefully we'll get a chance at some point. I think that's part and parcel. What I really am taking away from Empathy Circle is how fulfilled I feel that you're here and that this community exists, because I've been in university for a little bit longer than I should be. And it's not a very happy place. It's not a university that is particularly functional. And especially with COVID, it's just been very wearing. And when I've tried to bring out things like this to campus, they're really not very welcomed. There's no space for people who are, you're considered an outsider, even if you're a student, if it's not a program of theirs. So I'm happy to learn about this because I want to be able to know how to bring empathy into the world in a way that sort of meets those obstacles and navigates around or knows how to deal with getting past those obstacles and creating spaces for people who are like us, who are drawn to connecting with other people. So I just want to thank you all so much. What is the other question?
Thank you very much. Thanks so much, Valerie.
Okay.
So now I turn to our attention to the trainees, and the question is, what do you like about the trainee role? What will you be doing next with empathy circles? So you turn up, Dwayne, as first on my rectangle.
Okay. For me, the thing that I like most is, I always start with myself, my own personal growth that's hopefully taken place as being, being a part of this process. And I'm also mindful about the importance that, empathy, empathetic compassion always starts first with me. It starts first with us. And, and that's enables me to show up and be mindfully present to participate and contribute to the conversation. In terms of next steps, I think it's really important, and I think it's really important that we find a way to get more university people, more graduate students, more younger people involved. And I say that as a 61-year-old senior. Very proud to be a senior, by the way. But I think it's really important that we find a way to get more younger people involved as well. And I'm excited about being able to help facilitate some of the other projects that other people are working on. And so that's what my next steps are. Thank you.
Phenomenal. Linda, our valedictorian.
Yeah, I've done these assisted in the facilitating training a few times. I think it's 5 now, so I'll graduate today. Woohoo! It's a new experience every time. I love meeting the new people, especially people from other countries, and I always get a nugget from each session. So it's just good. It's good to see so many people really interested in spreading this culture of empathy.
Thank you so very much. I think I'm the last trainee, and I'll say, I think I'm graduating, but what level? I think I'm graduating from secondary school, high school, and I hope to be moving on to get my master's, my PhD, and maybe even some postdoc training, either in the field or formally with this wonderful organization. And what I'll be doing next is, well, number of irons in the fire. I hope to participate in an interfaith empathy circle group. I hope to bring it to a couple of Buddhist communities. Yeah, and who knows? My experience was just the tops. And it just seems like it gets better and better and better. You're the best cohort ever. And something happens. I don't talk in these mystical terms, but it seems there's some sort of collective zeitgeist that goes forward, so that the very last circle that we had just seemed to supersede the rules. And we became a wonderful little karass, if I could use Kurt Vonnegut's term.
I bet you say that to all the cohorts.
Well, you will just have to sign up again and see, Angie.
I will say, Altonia didn't go. She's a trainee.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Where are you? Well, I don't see you. I know you're here somewhere. Altonia, just go.
Altonia, there you go.
Oh, so sorry.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
Thank you.
What was the question again? I'm so sorry.
What did you like about the trainee role, and what will you be doing next with empathy circles?
I like absolutely nothing, not a dang on thing. No, I'm kidding. I like I guess the best part was sometimes, I guess the best Edwards part was sometimes I just got engulfed in what people were saying. It was hard sometimes to manage the time, right? Because I just got so in tune with what people were saying. But I guess that's the empathy, right? Just being in tune with what people were saying. So I'm really excited to be able to carry that on, especially with the projects I'm working on. You guys have really inspired me to step outside of my comfort zone. I was really contemplating on starting a clubhouse room just to listen to people. it's been really laying on my heart to do so. And you guys just inspired me to go ahead and just do it. There's a lot of people that's hurting out there who just need somebody to just hear them and listen to them. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. You guys inspired me to do that. And I'm looking forward to taking the next training so I can become a full trainer, so I can continue to train other people here in the city to be empathetic, especially the healthcare systems here, because they do great work, but they are not empathetic at all. Okay, their bedside manner sucks. Totally sucks. They mean well with doing the community work they do, but their bedside manner sucks. So I'm looking forward to holding some workshops for them regarding empathy. So being empathetic. So yeah, I'm just excited to be this part of this whole entire movement and starting doing something with schools. I'm on my cousin's back. I really am, Bill. I'm on her back. I'm trying to give her some grace because she's working on her PhD, but I'm hoping I can start this in schools. And I am going to start a group for young women, 18 to 34. So I'm hoping that turns out great too.
You're an inspiration. Thank you so much. Now we go to the trainers. It's the same question.
Now we're going to go to Lou. We're going to close. He'll kind of do the final part. Just we're running out of time. So
okay,
we're going to go over a little bit. And Lou,
thanks.
Do you want to?
Thank you, Edwin.
Yeah, so, I'd say on behalf of all the trainers and trainees, I just want to thank everyone for participating in this training and for caring about trying to make the world a more empathic place. It's been a total joy and privilege to work with all of you and to learn together about this process. I also want to acknowledge that learning this process is an ongoing thing that takes a really long time. And so don't be bashful about signing up for the training again. We've had people that have taken it 3, 4, 5, 6 times, and you just deepen your understanding and deepen your practice by doing that. I also run every other Friday an ongoing facilitator support group at 9 a.m. in the morning. It's in my Zoom room. It's information about it is posted on the Facebook page, and I send out a reminder to the Empathy Circle development list. I'll be sending one out this week. Yeah, and that's also out of recognition that becoming a facilitator or increasing your capacity for facilitation is an ongoing process that involves internal personal development work and external interacting with others to continue learning and gain skills and gain perspective. So that's another venue for ongoing learning. Do any other trainers or Edwin have a closing comment before we go?
I do. So I want to just share that Linda and Ralph have done this training 5 times. That means 25 sessions. So this is their graduation. We're going to have this big ceremony. They're going to change their names from trainees to trainer. If you want to change there, Ralph, to trainer.
Such an honor. Such an honor. Where is okay?
Yeah, come on, right click. I can actually do it for you. Maybe I need to. Yeah, let's see. Trainer Ralph, I got you covered here. So there you go, trainer and trainer. So let's give him a big round of applause for that. Woo!
Thank you, thank you,
Great.
thank you.
Yeah, it's so exciting. So also for if you've attended all 5 sessions, I'll be sending out certificates in a week, within the week or so. We'll post those. And so you'll have those. The next cohort, we haven't set the date and time since I'm running for Congress. It's kind of messed the schedule up. So I'm not quite sure when the next cohort is, but we hope that you'll all take the training 5 times and become a trainer of it. And we're also looking at organizing a empathy democracy circle for Ukraine. So I just did a post to the email list. So I hope you'll sign up for that. Just add your name, and it's a good way to actually, if you get in on that now, you can help organize it and learn the process of how do you online create an event, go through the steps, promote it, and then host it. So we hope to invite Ukrainians and non-Ukrainians to come together for mutual support. So that's what I've got. If there's any other trainer.
Just want to say that I have an empathy on Thursday in schools. There's the thing in the chat, and then I'll shut up.
I'll say that I am offering through a organizer in Mexico, empathy circles in Spanish, and I'm happy to do them for anybody else. If you want to organize it, I will show up.
And for me, if just quickly, I'm involved in empathy circles in Extinction Rebellion. And if anybody here is involved in any way, small or big, in Extinction Rebellion and would like to be in touch, I'd be really grateful for that and look forward to hearing from you. I'll stick my email address again in the chat. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Anne. Larry, go ahead. You have a comment?
I'll just quickly say I have a website called miaminetwork.org, and we do buddy calls and empathy circles, and we share NVC kind of books and Course in Miracles kinds of books, and it's all fun. Hope to see anybody there, everybody there. Also meditations. And for me, learning empathy, this empathy circle training is really about discovering what it is to be truly a human being. So I love it.
Thanks, Larry. Thank you, everyone. We're over, so we're going to go. Good luck to you all. Stay connected. And
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Yes, hands.
Hey, everyone.
See you all
Go
sometime.
forward and empathize.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you all.